And there is a place, I think, in the American cinema for people to get together, and it has always been a place in the American cinema for people to get together and talk about something that's really happening in the country and see their own lives and their own circumstances shown. But we don't do a lot of it now. We don't do nearly as much of it as we have done in other times. You know, we tend to think about the Depression as being a time in which only films were made that were uplifting, you know. But the truth is that there were all different kinds of films, and there's all different kinds of audiences out there. I always like to use the analogy, I love to eat out. I love to go and have dinner out. But I don't want to eat at the same restaurant every night. I want to go, and I love to go and see the Pixar movies with my kids, although I'd probably go anyway if I didn't have little kids because I love the movies. I love to go see a good comedy. I love to go see a good science fiction piece or an action piece. Saw Unstoppable last weekend, really liked it. And I also want to go and be completely engaged with a movie about people's lives and feel emotionally moved by it, feel like I learned something I didn't know, feel that I'm part of a larger community that are going through difficult times.
Yeah,
So
the part of the problem in Hollywood right now is that movies like this are going through difficult times.
there's no question that it's, you know, we were able to put this movie together at a time where 2 months later, if we tried to put it together, we wouldn't have been able to have done it. We did it a way that I've produced a lot of smaller films, and we were able to get foreign financing in place and do all those things.
And it was the cast that you were able to.
And the cast that we had.
And Ben, right?
Everybody kind of coming together.
And why was Ben the guy that you wanted?
He did a movie at the same time that I was first working on this piece called Changing Lanes.
He was very good
And
in
he
that.
was terrific in that movie, and so as I started to write the part, I kind of wrote it with him in mind. And then when we started to put it together, I sent it to him, figuring, you know, as often as the time of these smaller movies, you kind of send it to people and they don't all do it. And I had an experience on this film where everybody that I sent the script to wanted to make the film, which I don't think will ever happen to me again. But I sent it to Ben, and he called me up and said, let's have lunch, and he wanted to do it, and I sent it to Tommy Lee, and Tommy Lee wanted to do it, and Chris Cooper wanted to do it, and then Kevin Costner called me and said he wanted to do it, and Maria, who's an old friend, we had done ER together.
Right.
And then, miraculously to me, the DP that I had always wanted to work with, Roger Deakins, who's really one of the best cinematographers in the world, said, yeah, when are we going to shoot it? So I don't expect I'll have that experience again anytime soon. But you know, when you start to have that happen, and other artists that you admire say we ought to make this, then you
so
make it.
what kind of budget did you use on this?
You know, we were in that kind of under 20 range. It was about 18 and a half before the rebates, and you know, about 15, and we're able to put together money out of the foreign sales, which is what we've done a lot of times on a lot of other films, and then get a little bit of private equity. And
yeah, you've had a lot of experience with that. Yeah, you really have.
But you Todd Haynes
films,
but you point to a kind of a startling fact that's going on right now, which is the way that we've made all these kind of films over the years. That has all stopped. So we're seeing films getting made. There's still some people who are out there. The Weinstein Company is still making films. Fox Searchlight is still making films. Focus, but it's tough.
You might have been able to make this movie with a smaller budget, with those names. I would
think. You know,
even with that setup.
Yeah,
those numbers have gone down.
It started when we were first making these movies. We made movies, these kind of smaller films, and the numbers you were talking about were in the 25 range, and then we were talking them in the 20 range, and we were talking them in the 15 range. About 18 months ago, we were talking about them in the 12 range. Mostly when you're talking about them now, you're talking to 8 to 10. A lot of things have to happen. One of the things is that everybody in the market, you know, the actors and everybody else, has to realize that that's where the market is actually going. Actors want to be in films where they can really act, and there's a lot for them to do. And it's taken a long time for everybody to adjust to how these films are actually going to get made. But even under those circumstances, it's much harder right now, even at much lower budget levels, to get any films made.
I'm just worried that the drama's going to go away, and you know, unfortunately, it requires really tough directors like you to make it happen. The last question I had
was a really, really good one.
Really good one. Has just completely flown out of my head, and I know you need to go on to your next thing.
Well, I think it's we're in a world in which it is more difficult to get these dramas made. I always make the argument back to the studios that they need to be in this business in some fashion, and some of them still do. I mean, A Social Network, fabulous film that got made, which is kind of a miracle that film got made. And it should have been made, and when you see it, you go, well, why didn't somebody make this movie right away?
Or even, the troubles that Darren Aronofsky had making Black Swan. But the question I had is, under these conditions, would you continue to direct?
Yeah, I've always kind of approached this as, isn't it a miracle that anybody lets us do any of this? There are carpenters in the film. I was actually a carpenter and did a lot of roofing. I am completely aware of how lucky I am to be able to do this under any circumstances. And the truth be told, most of us would do this for virtually nothing. We just got lucky, and people paid us for a while to do it for a lot more money.
The same process that occurs in the movie where everybody sort of recognizes that there's a smaller version of reality that they can still be happy in. May be the answer.
I've been very successful, and I've been fortunate, and I'm delighted that I was fortunate. And at the same time, when I started out wanting to do this, I would have done it for nothing. So, as long as you're doing something you want to do.
Thanks.